Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Historical Humans Reacts. And we are talking about the oldest pyramid in the world, where archaeologists call a foul. And before we get too into it, there's two archaeologists who are mentioned that I do feel like we should give honorable mention to and shout outs to. Firstly, being Flint Dibble of the University of Cardiff and Bill Farley, both of which have great YouTube channels that you should also check out if you're watching this video. And they call a foul to the most recent study that we actually did a video on talking about the oldest pyramid in the world.
Yeah, we did a video, a reacts video, actually, part of this very series you're watching now. When this first came out, with the basic evidence that it presented and whether or not we thought this could actually be a legitimate claim. I believe Justin was more skeptical than me in that video, which is always fun. Now more evidence has come out, more publications, and the big dogs have started talking about it, which yeah, it's heading for condemnation, it looks like, most likely.
Which this is something that happens and should be done on a regular basis. It should, whenever you release an academic paper, it should be scrutinized to the highest degree by your colleagues and by
Yeah.
other experts in the field. Otherwise, you are quite literally just screaming into an echo chamber. And that is actually one of the complaints that these archaeologists make and that they talk about in quite a good degree is this paper, when it was released, was peer reviewed by Graham Hancock, who is a British writer that has long peddled unsubstantiated pseudoscientific theories regarding ancient civilizations, and he has a series of controversial archaeology documentaries called Ancient Apocalypse, in which this site is prominently featured in the very first episode. So, Mr. Hancock, if you have not been following our series for very long, is a pseudoscientist, pseudo archaeology, a man that has zero degree, zero credibility in the field, and likes to claim himself as a scientific outsider that mainstream science doesn't like to talk about. Except this gentleman likes to peddle the most unsubstantiated, wackiest pseudoscientific theories. He is full of crock of shit, and none of his stuff has actually have any crack or mild scientific theory, as both Mr. Farley and Mr. Dibble both go into excruciating detail. I highly recommend you look at their Twitter feeds or X feeds because they both rip into him on a regular basis anytime
And
pseudoscience is posted.
yeah, and the thing too is, even if Hancock was none of those things, even if he was none of those things, this pyramid features on a TV show which Mr. Hancock is a part of. That alone is a conflict of interest for the peer review of scientific articles on this pyramid. That alone should have been enough for him to have to say, hang on, we need someone not associated with me and my show to talk about this, even if he was a legitimate archaeologist, because he has a vested economic interest in seeing this thing succeed as an archaeological site.
We talk about this
Uh,
so much of there is such a fine line
is
and
a
such a finite amount of trying to generate public interest and trying to support TV shows and programs
yeah.
that promote the overall interest in the field and promote the overall research oriented guide that archaeology should be. However, it truly ends up regressing the field when theories like this and items like this come to the forefront, and it's one of the reasons why these things should be highly scrutinized. And one of the things that I hold so much respect to both Bill Farley and Flint Dibble on, because it takes a lot of gumption and a lot of honestly, I think, pride and respect in your work to go out and say, hey, these are the issues in which I see in this project. Here are my concerns, and here are the issues that I see, which with this specific site, one of the things that Flint mentions is that some of the quote unquote terracing that happened with the pyramid could happen with natural slumping with the hillside.
Yep. And I think the real key here is that archaeology needs to live by the old Roman adage of throw me to the wolves and I will return leading the pack. Because if you are doing legitimate archaeology, if you have a theory that actually holds water and is a true archaeological site, then you can be thrown to the wolves of other actual archaeologists, of other scientists who will look at it scientifically and make arguments, and you will be able to counter their arguments with more research, with more time, or even just with, oh, hey, this didn't make it into the final paper. I should publish more on that because people are concerned. You will return leading the pack because, as an actual archaeologist, you will have the ability to get those answers when people start asking questions.
And that's just it. Like, what kind of research are you conducting? What kind of science are you conducting? If you are not able to both stand by your results and also defend them in the event of questioning, and there are some things that may not have a direct answer or that you may not have the answer to in the moment, that is fully okay. It is okay to say, I do not have that specific answer at the moment, and you can also work towards trying to address that issue or trying to disprove any skeptics. That is part of progressing the field, and that is where I think science as a overall whole. I'm going to step out of the archaeology as a science and talk overall science. I think that's where science becomes this very self validating field, or the self authenticating is probably a better word, where you are able to replicate results, you are able to duplicate them, and you are able to confirm them as being factual. I think that is one of the biggest things that sets scientific fields apart from other fields, is the fact of replicating results. And archaeology becomes an issue because everything we deal with is finite, but certain things should be replicable,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're dating things, like you're trying to do carbon 14
Yeah.
dating. You should have numerous samples so you can validate the date in case you have outliers.
Yeah. There are things like, multiple data sets, multiple surveys, secondary sources of information, things that would correlate or corroborate the initial theory or statement that you are making, which in this case is there's a pyramid in Indonesia. If you have an actual pyramid in Indonesia, then you should have plenty of other things that, well, not may not indicate that the pyramid is there, indicates at the very least that there is a population there, tool use, settlement, um, anything. And you should have a response to legitimate questions like, okay, how do you know that this terracing is not the natural degradation of a hill? And if you can walk in with an answer of it's because X is there, well, then right there, you get to talk about your site more, you get to publish more on your site, and you get to prove that it's a little bit more legitimate.
Well, and
If there's no answer to that, then it's not legitimate.
and Bill Farley, who is of Southern Connecticut State University, to correct myself from earlier, but Bill Farley also mentions the fact that it is very possible that they could have gotten a genuine, legitimate date of 27,000 years. However, it could be in an area that does not contain any sort of traces of human activity. And one of the examples I can personally give is I excavated a site where I dated a copper projectile point, one of the earliest in North America, to about 11,000 years ago. It was early Archaic, late Paleo, one of the earliest possible. And one of the ways in which we validated that date was we did carbon 14 samples of charcoal layers both above and below the item in the strata. And what we were able to do there is we were able to basically block that area of human occupation into two data sets.
It has to be between X and Y because the first sample says it can be no older than this, and the second sample says it can be no younger than this.
So that's how we got our date when it came to that projectile point.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that, it's redundancies like that, it's the scrutinization
Well,
that helps
and
progress our field.
yeah, and the issue here is that he is taking the carbon 14 samples. He's taking the samples from various carbonized soil, and the issue is there's no arrowhead in there. He's getting dates for when this dirt got placed here. But the question is, where's the proof that there was also a human here with this date? Where's the human part? Where is the bone fragment? Where is the tool? Where is the hieroglyph? Where's the
Where's the
sign of
connection
human
to it
activity?
being a human site versus
Yeah.
just a natural site?
Versus a mountain in a rocky and volcanic region. All right. It's like where's that? And there is it seems, at least for now, no answer. I am hopeful that maybe there is a legitimate answer for this, but it's increasingly unlikely.
But
Just with the more and more things that come out about how this got published and what it's saying.
But I think that's a great point for us to end here. And again, I mentioned it at the beginning of the episode. I'll mention it again. Please, please, please go check out the content that both Flint and Bill create. They are two of the top archaeology content creators on the platform. And they're both people who we try to strive and be because they produce some of the best content. So please share the love, go check them out, and we'll see you guys in the next video.